Hey everyone, welcome back. This is episode 108 of At the Coffee Table Podcast. I am Jason Klink with my co-host Bob Kahn. And today we have Free Form Friday. Yeah, I don't have coffee. I just got a water bottle.
Danger Will Robinson. Anything can happen.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. We're here today to talk about current events, recent events, maybe even some past events. We like doing this free form Friday, easy for me to say, and just to have a little fun with it and have some conversation. So, Bob and I meet during the week and we get off on tangents on sports, on news, on business. So we'll start there. Start with business. And what was it, 2 days ago, the Fed comes out. I know we're not supposed to talk about politics today, but we'll try to keep it non-political.
Politics.
Yeah. So, a couple of days ago, the Fed comes out, got to raise interest rates again because, we got to curb inflation, even though the only way to curb inflation is to stop printing money. But now we're going to raise interest rates again. So,
what's that? Yeah, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
Yes, you did.
Not just printing money, but make corporations pay taxes. And they've made so much money in the last 3 years that it's ridiculous. They're squeezing what used to be the middle class and blaming it on workers making more money when there's, I guess they don't look out and try to rent an apartment anywhere on a salary of $15 an hour. When I was a kid in the 1960s, $15 an hour, I could have bought a car.
Right. Yeah. You could have bought a house at $15 an hour in the 60s.
I think I made $1.25 an hour. Yeah. I was rich.
That brings up an interesting conversation and we'll go back to whole interest rates because I wanted to talk a little about real estate. But I was, I had a brief outing last night with some friends and we were talking about, growing up in the 80s and, the wall phone and everything. And you think about how extraordinary it is how inflation and prices have risen on everything from just 25, 30, 40 years ago. I remember right before I started driving. So I started driving in I'm going to date myself, 1989, which, and I can remember the car ads were like, you can get this car for $79.99, $7,999. And, even back then, $7,000, $8,000, $9,000 seems expensive for a car. And now you go out and try to buy a truck, and you're paying $40,000, $50,000, $70,000. $8,000 from 40 years ago doesn't seem so bad.
It's interesting since I have a few years on you.
Just a few.
You could actually look up what was the day like when you were born, that particular day. When I was born, bread was 8 cents a loaf. Sugar was like 10 cents a pound, and stuff like gas was, I don't know, 15 cents. We used to take day trips. My father used to take day trips to Massachusetts to see his sister. And somewhere in Connecticut, there was always gas wars going on. When I say gas wars, for those who don't know what I'm talking about, is you have four corners with gas stations and they're battling each other for the business.
Yep.
9 cents, 10 cents, 12 cents, 8 cents a gallon. So my father, and I remember we went up once. My cousin we go with his car. It was an Imperial. You talk about a gas guzzler.
Yeah,
we had to fill up twice, and it's only 250 miles away.
Yeah, right. So I was just looking too. Go ahead.
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
No, I was just saying I was trying to find the same kind of information for 1973, but I got to look some more.
But the problem that it persists is the average income since 1949 went up 10 to 12%. The average home price has gone up almost 100%.
Yeah,
more and more. Rents. I remember when I was moving out of my parents' house, I went to look for an apartment, and it was 250, and it was a pretty good size apartment. I don't know how many square feet it was, but it was a big, big bedroom, good bathroom, a gourmet type kitchen. Eat not in,
Yep.
eating, and a long living room, dining room. It was
Yep.
wonderful. I was out of my house, so it was wonderful. But I was paying 250. Then and at the time I really wanted to live in Manhattan because that's where you wanted to live in the 70s and 80s.
Yeah.
And there was a small studio that was 350, and I went, oh
Right.
my, oh my. The townhouse that I live here in now, here in Jersey, back then probably would have, you probably could have rented it for $300 or $400. I won't tell you what it is now, but it's over 2,000.
Wow.
Right? A car. My first new car was a brand new Celica, Toyota Celica. FOB Detroit, everything, tax license was $3,500. That same car today, obviously it's better, more equipment, is well over 30. If they
Wow.
if they even market it, I don't even know if they market it. It's probably close to 35. I don't know many people whose income has gone up that percentage.
No, not at all. And you
And
think about a lot of these companies, or even where I came from in civil service, that struggle because they try to pay salaries that are below poverty. Any salary that's below $60,000 is poverty level, and it's tough to manage when you got prices like that. You got eggs that are at freaking $8.
there's, again, I have to say this, it's political in nature. The government is not serving the people,
No.
hasn't served the people I don't know if they ever did personally. Maybe in times of extreme crisis they did, like
Hmm.
with COVID or the crash in '07, the depression. But all they serve is their masters, the ones that are paying them through Citizens United. Get rid of that, things will change.
Sure.
Things will
Sure.
change. Again, but there is no prevention, no protection. Yeah, those who are making a lot of money say, well, just get a better job, get a better education. Well, my friend, if it was that easy, oh, we didn't have this issue. That was good. Try
Oh,
to,
try that again.
I could do that. you know, and a lot of it's in people's heads because they believe they can't make it, but it's not that simple.
No.
And the purpose, everybody says, well, the government should help us to a degree. They help too much in some things and not enough in others. But everybody thinks, well, the revolution was about freedom for people. Yeah, about this many percent of the people. I don't know whether it's FDR's original inaugural speech in '33 or as he went on, but he said, and I'm going to try to quote, the business of America is business.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, and you think like I drive through my city here, and I look at all these old, like right now there's an old manufacturing uh industrial building, probably built in the early 20th century. It was right in the same block where my father and his family grew up. And this thing has been falling in on itself for the better part of 10 years, right? And now all of a sudden there's this revitalization, and they're rebuilding the building, but they're trying to keep a lot of the um, aspects of the building as it was. And it made me think about how, like, Syracuse, where I am, was a very industrial city at one point. Industrial manufacturing, right? And now that's all gone away for the most part. It's all gone away. We had two different two different car manufacturing plants. We had General Motors. We had New Process Gear, Chrysler. Now, I am pro union, always been pro union, but the auto workers union legitimately, like, caused some of these shutdowns, and for these companies to send sending manufacturing somewhere else because of driving up those salaries and stuff. But were they wrong? Because now you think about it, and they were just trying, realistically, if you think about it now, like they were trying to get ahead of where the trend was going.
Absolutely.
You know,
Absolutely. Keeping, as inflation has always been here, or
yeah,
growth, they like to call it, because
yeah, growth.
a
It's
nice
called
word.
printing money.
You know,
Printing money.
they blame the unions for asking for what they asked for.
Yeah,
That's like blaming the ball players for getting a $400 million salary. You didn't have to say yes,
right.
you
And they
know,
created that environment.
right? And I remember when the Yankees signed Reggie Jackson. I think he got a 5 million 5 year package or something. Anyway,
Yeah,
going back to the manufacturing, yes, there is a big issue with the auto industry. GM, between 40 and 50% of their outlay of money goes to people who are retired.
yeah,
And yeah, that's a problem. Well, the problem with one of the problems is we never think ahead. The last time I think we thought ahead is when Kennedy said we're going on the moon before the end of the decade in the 60s. But it's like in Long Island, um, I forgot his name again. A giant. He was a prick, but he was a giant of a thinker. When he built parkways, he built the Long Island Expressway, or created it. He didn't build it, you know.
designed
Um,
it.
they tried to think ahead. What would happen 30 years, 40, 50 years from now? The Washington Bridge has 4 lanes underneath. I think 4 or 5 on top. I don't remember, because they thought, back then in the 1930s when these things were built, you had 4 cars on the road.
Right. Yeah, not
You know,
4,000.
I'm tired of. I've lived 75 years in this country, and I'm tired of crisis management.
Yeah.
The only time they react is if there's a major issue. Well, guess
Yeah.
what, folks? There's a major issue going on. It's
Yeah.
called we hate each other.
Yeah.
We don't want
Yeah.
to do anything, And one of the pieces that I wrote for next week, or maybe I already posted it. Man, I am gone. Is this world? There's over 7 billion people in this planet. That's power.
Yeah.
You take all the leaders in all the countries in the world. What is it? 1 million people?
Yeah.
2 million people?
Yeah.
We have the power,
Right.
but we don't use it because, like I read to you before we got on the air, individuals are smart, but people are dumb and stupid and scared and dangerous, and that's the problem. We can fix everything. That this isn't a problem that can't be fixed by us.
Right. Right.
We're thinking people. We're sentient thinking people.
Yeah.
But that would require this person and this person, instead of doing this, doing this.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I'm done. I'm done.
Yeah. So let's switch gears for a minute, because there was something I wanted to talk about on the podcast that I've yet to talk on my social media, and I don't know how familiar you are with Syracuse University sports, but this week, Syracuse University men's basketball, they go to the ACC tournament and they lose the first game. Now, there was some kind of indication there was something going on with Jim Boeheim, the coach, and
I know he retired.
retired, right? So let me paint this picture for you, because I've been thinking about this and wasn't quite sure. I've seen other friends and associates posting on their opinion about how this all transpired, and Boeheim really he what's that?
I didn't say anything.
Oh, I thought you said so.
Reading.
Boeheim had a large extended contract. And realistically, he had kind of carte blanche on his career. But if you look over the last 3 to 5 seasons, the men's basketball program is really just downgraded. And not to not to blame it on age, but realistically at his age, it makes it very difficult for a coach to connect with his players. He has nothing in common with the young players that are coming in. That's my opinion. So you fast forward and you come into the season and they start off badly. So now we're, 3 or 5 seasons in and they start off bad. And all of a sudden they started having a winning track. All right, we're coming around. The young players, kind of a rebuilding year. But after 4 or 5 games now, they tank off again and they get worse and worse and worse every week. And ticket sales are down, attendance to the games are down, have been down for the last 3 years. And I know from working at Syracuse University at the Carrier Dome, or it's not the Carrier Dome anymore, it's JMA Wireless Dome. New sponsor. Yeah. So that, it's very much a business. So the beginning of the season, they started prompting Jim Boeheim, when are you going to retire? And his answer was, I'll retire when I'm ready to retire. But the entire season, especially
as per my contract,
is right. So by the end of the season, though, he was being an absolute ass and a pork chop in every news interview. Something really seemed off. And all I can figure is, so his speech after their loss in the ACC tournament was very nonchalant. It was very non-engaging. He was being a more pork chop. Like, he had a reporter. He kept saying that. He said something like, I gave my retirement speech at the last game and nobody picked up on it. And the reporters all went, so are you retiring? He goes, it's up to the university. That's what he kept saying. It's up to the university. The very 2 hours later, I believe it was 2 hours later, the university releases a statement that Jim Boeheim's no longer the head coach, that he's retiring, and they were going to name Adrian Autry as the head coach. I mean, all in one failed message. So
he must have said, or it's amazing he's lasted 47 years. When was the last time they were in the Final Four, let alone winning it?
Right, in 2002.
Okay, so 21 years is a long losing streak. But I want to go back to something you said about how his age, and he can't relate. I can't agree with that, and this is why. You ever hear of John Wooden?
Yeah. Yep.
Okay. He was in this age group when he retired, and they were still winning. Not a lot of championships. I mean, they won 10 in a row or some crazy thing. Yeah. If you ever get a chance to read his book, I recommend it highly. He was the same from when he was coaching in his early 20s in the Midwest to the day he retired. And simple things like how to put your socks on so you don't get blisters. And one day, Bill Walton. Thank you.
Yep.
Bill Walton comes in, has a haircut and a beard. And John pulled him aside and said, listen, you got to get a hair. I don't remember if it was his haircut or a beard or both.
Yeah. Yeah.
He goes, well, Coach, I like it. He goes, what's the difference? He goes, well, because those are the rules. He goes, well, what if I don't? We're going to miss you, Bill.
And right. And I get it. I get it. That part I get. But where I've seen the change with the Syracuse men's basketball program is, and I'll say this, Jim Boeheim had a ton of success. He brought a ton of success to the program, to the college, made a lot of excitement in Syracuse. By far, the men's basketball games were more well attended than the football games. But you could see over the last 5 years or so, like when he stayed tried and true to the 2-3 zone. They never played any other defense. They played the 2-3 zone. 20 years ago, 30 years ago, when you watch the guys play 2-3 zone, their hands were always up and they moved like a unit, up, forward, whatever. Now these kids just stand there and they wait and they wait. And then they get beat because they're waiting. And you got guys popping all over the place, to the point this year. He always said, we're never going to play man-to-man. I have no reason to play man-to-man. We perfect the 2-3 zone. there was probably 3 or 4 games. I don't know how accurate that is. 3 or 4 games this year, including the last one of the season, where he shifted them into a man-to-man, and they did worse in the game. So I think there is still a disconnect there, but I also think there was some extenuating circumstances surrounding the coach between him and the university. And I would have to believe that the university was looking at it from a business standpoint, and the ticket sales were down, the attendance were down, they weren't drawing the fans, and somebody had to be blamed for it.
Well, when any team is not doing well, who gets fired? The team? No, the manager or the coach.
Or the coach, yeah.
So from that point of view, I mean, he hasn't really done very well for 21 years. I think that's patience, pretty good patience.
Oh, yeah.
And who knows? I mean, the day before the last game or whatever, they might have called him, and the AD might have called him and sat him down and go, listen, but come on.
Yep.
21 years.
Yep.
Nothing's changed. We had a little bit of run today. It ain't there anymore, Bill. It's time.
Yeah.
I'm sure if he's as belligerent as you were saying, he probably went,
Yeah.
One thing you don't do, even if you're a big name, your Patino or your Bobby Knight, is you don't tell the AD to go F himself.
And you're 100% right, because all I can figure is, like, if you look at Coach Krzyzewski, Coach K with Duke announces his retirement at the beginning of the season. And he has this whole pomp and circumstance until the end of the season, right? You know, sure as anything, when Jimmy was going to go out, that was going to happen, but it didn't happen that way, which doesn't make any sense. The other thing that really got called out to light, and I think we're really kind of war fans thin, war of the university thin, is like it really started to come out that Boeheim played favorites. He played favorites with players instead of elevating some of the real talent he had on the team. He only elevated his favorites, his sons, first of all, because they were mediocre ball players at best. Jimmy could hit 3-point shots, and that's about all he could do. Joe Girard, that's all he could do is hit 3-point shots. He got lucky other shots, but he was completely overrated. But he elevated these kids instead of the quality talent he had and developing the quality talent that they had recruited on the bench. So that's why they left early. They went in the portal.
Right there. That should have got fired right there, right?
It was nothing they could prove, but if you watch it for face value,
if you're fortunate, Deion Sanders' son happens to be a terrific quarterback. They won 2 championships or 3 championships, whatever it was.
Right.
And he brought him with him to Colorado.
Right.
Coach McKay at USC, his son was a great wide receiver. But if he wasn't, every coach is going to have favorites. I mean, if you have, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, at the time he was Lou Alcindor, in your lineup, it's hard not to make him your favorite. And along the line, they had some awesome teams, of the 13 that played or the 15 that played, 13 in pro, 15 in college. You're going to have some you can't stand, some you love, and some you just feel. But if you're a coach, what is a coach? A coach their purpose is to get you to be better than you think you could be.
Right.
Better than you know you can be.
Right.
And the favorites could come in, other ways. But if you're smart, you don't let it out in public.
Yeah.
Like I said, 21 losing seasons. It's got to rub on you.
Yeah. Not that they were all losing season, but they weren't a championship season like they were in 2002. They had 1 or 2.
Yankees make the playoff 800 times out of 801 years, but But
speaking of the Yankees, did you happen to see Aaron Boone hit a home run yesterday?
Yeah, I heard that batting practice.
Yeah, it was batting practice. It hits home run. Pretty awesome.
There's an article this morning on the Yankee app that's run by NewJersey.com, which was a Star Ledger here. Jason Dominguez has hit 3 monster home runs. Monster. Wow. Nothing under 400 feet. But we can't bring him up to the majors because those were minor league pitchers. He doesn't start the game. Anthony Volpe. He is the second coming of somebody. I'm not going to call him Derek Jeter. He is there.
Yeah.
Oh, but we only had 22 games or 8 games, or whatever the hell it is, in AAA. He's probably not ready. Meanwhile, the guy they designated as the starting shortstop, okay,
Kind of
Isaiah,
Kalafa.
he's batting 091.
Oh, I know. They should have got rid of him.
Pereira is batting 250, but he's made errors. Isaiah's made errors. Volpe has been excellent. Oh, but he's giving us thought. What the fuck is there to think about?
Oh, but if you think
Hader,
about it, they did the same damn thing to Jeter.
Yeah, Hader got hurt yesterday. He's some kind of oblique injury. Takes for these guys. These players nowadays are very fragile. Very fragile.
Yeah.
Well,
they're already starting the season with three pitchers on the IL.
Yeah, now you need a center field. I'm glad they don't ask. They don't, because the fans are going.
Yeah.
Montez. Montez. Is that how you pronounce his name? The guy from Oakland they got last year.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, he said, "Well, I really wasn't
Montas.
100% when I came over. I thought you're supposed to take a physical before."
Yeah, I thought you're supposed to pass a physical.
So I don't know. I don't know. It's anyway.
Yeah.
We went from what we were talking about to Bayheim.
Yeah, right.
That's
how these conversations go.
If the Mets keep it together and and people don't get hurt, which is that's saying a lot.
Yeah.
I don't see them not. They're an amazing team.
Right.
They're better on paper. They're better than the Yankees, or the Yankees have more bangers. Problem is when you live and die by the home run. Somebody got to
live and die by the home run.
Somebody got to get a single.
Yeah.
They used to say that World Series were won by pitching. Oh, now it's home runs. Really?
That's because pitchers don't last past the sixth inning.
I don't know. I kind of thought the Astros did a pretty good job on the pitching side last year.
That's true. That's true. Yeah.
But
here's a last segment for you. So I was scanning through the other day, and I didn't watch the whole thing, but I can't remember his name. One of the sharks from Shark Tank, right? He was on some news show saying that since a lot of companies went to remote work from the pandemic, that now workers are refusing to come back to work. I saw that news title, and he was talking, and I didn't get into the whole interview, and maybe I'm misinterpreting it, but yes, the world shifted, business shifted, companies shifted because they had to, and remote work made sense, and because of stuff like this, remote work makes sense, and you don't need that $10,000 a month lease payment that you have to make to have a brick and mortar. You have everybody work from home. But I find it difficult to believe if you're paying somebody a salary and you say, all right, guys, gals, come back in the office. We're no longer, remote work's no longer an option. That if you're paying them a decent salary and they love the culture and they love working there, that they're going to go, no, I don't want to.
I mean, there's a certain segment that certainly would, but let me tell you something. I've been working from home now for a while, and it gets old. Especially as real estate agents, and most office workers, I guess, there's a social aspect of it.
Yeah.
Where you grow as a person, where you can communicate, where you can laugh, you can solve the world's problems, whatever you want to talk about.
Yeah.
Where you can sit there, go grab a cup of coffee and have a 10-minute chat with somebody.
Right.
That's the missing formula. But if the people that quit starting in, I guess it was August of 20, the people that quit were because they didn't know, the management or ownership didn't care about them, was underpaying them, didn't hear from them.
Right.
All the things that we've talked about. But saying that they don't want to come back to work, no, they don't want to come back to the office. There's a big difference there.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think it would be fun now, even though I'm not exactly in my 20s.
Just
No?
a little off. Just a little off.
Yeah. Um, Commuting might be fun. It's a drag. I mean, on its worst days, it's not fun. But
I think, and I just had this conversation. Well, my wife always busts on me because she's like, "Why do you make all these coffee meetings like for the real estate business? Why do you make coffee meetings?" Because it gets me out of the house. I get to go socialize and not just talk to myself. Um,
yeah,
and I do have an opportunity to, if I wanted to get an office space at the real estate office and do all of my work. But I'm so entrenched and so well set up here at home that I kind of shy away from that. Now, if it was a role reversal and there wasn't work from home and you were expected to be in an office somewhere, yeah, then you adapt and you get set up and well entrenched in your workspace. Um, but I think I just think like people have found that they're way more productive working from home. That they sit down, they get their work done, but they also have the freedom to go throw a load of laundry in, or whatever it might be, clean something at home, but still get your work done.
what do you think? There's a catchy name for all that. Want them to get them back to the office. It's called control.
Control, yeah,
You see,
yeah, for sure.
you can't do your laundry. You can
Yep,
only go to lunch at a certain time. Yeah, you could
yep,
take a 5 minute coffee break, but they want to control you. Hey, I'm paying you $100,000 a year. You have to listen to me.
right,
And that's why people are just saying, I'm out of here.
yep,
I'm out of here. You know, I don't know if there's the reason for unions, obviously, because there was no respect between ownership and the workers.
right,
Apparently, there still isn't any in many
right,
cases.
right.
Starbucks comes to mind. But the American worker is overworked, underpaid, and for the ones that are really successful, congratulations.
Yeah,
But if anything has taught us that management's job is to make sure everybody beneath them, or excuse me, that they manage, makes money every week before they do. Then they're a successful. Oh, now you put it up. They're
you're not the
successful.
only one with a foggy mind, my friend.
I hear you. That's everything for me. Um, Other countries, I mean, Norway pays high taxes. They do, but they also get like 30 days paid vacation, 160 days paid um, birth parental after the kid is born. My talk about foggy brain, you know. You know,
Maternity leave.
we're behind the times because the government allows companies to do whatever they feel like because it's a free market system. Oh, but no. There is no, used to be you would graduate from the high school or college, you'd get a job at Boeing Aircraft or something, and you'd spend the next 40, 45 years working for them. And at the end of the time, you'd get a nice pension and a gold watch and adios. That was way before health benefits. You didn't
Yeah,
need health benefits. We used to go to the doctors. Like, say I had a cold or something, flu, and my mother would take me, if my sister was home, with the three of us would go. The doctor for $5 would examine us, and if he had to give you a
right,
shot, it was like a buck and a half. And he
right.
was still living in a beautiful home, driving a Cadillac.
Yeah.
So you
No,
can't tell me we need health insurance. There was hospitalization. There was major medical hospitalization. That's all. My parents didn't have to go through and get medical insurance. There should be. In a nation like this, there shouldn't be a need for Medicare. There shouldn't be a need for Social Security, but there
yeah.
is. So stop trying to. I'm not going to say it because that would be political. But
I tell you what, though, to
you
go
know
back to
where
the beginning of this segment is I worked almost 20 years doing shift work, probably over 20 years doing shift work. You couldn't pay me enough money to go back doing shift work.
no,
No way.
no. It's funny that the same words came out of my friend's mouth yesterday. She, um, she was top realtor, and she goes, "You should be on your knees thanking the Lord for not doing real estate anymore." But then she started telling me what's going on, and it's like, no, thank you. No,
Oh
thank you.
yeah,
At
yeah,
least what you're finally doing now, and I hope you're happy with the commercial, is you're dealing with people. The only thing that's important to them is, does it make monetary sense?
yep,
What's my down? What's my ROI? How
yep,
long am I going to get my down back so I can use it again? If it makes sense, if it makes sense on paper, I'm buying it. And it doesn't
yeah,
matter what it looks like, because the price will be commensurate with what it looks like. It's called
right,
value.
right.
But home buyers now are crazy, from what I've been hearing. Absolutely nuts. This is
I
a
think
woman.
it's.
Go
I
ahead.
was just going to say, I just think that the last 3 years of the residential real estate business has just not only wore out the agents, but it's really worn thin on buyers just because of, you can't go find that asset that you were looking to purchase, and you can't find it in a plentiful manner to be able to just go, you know what, I love that house. I don't want to compete against 14 people to buy it.
Unfortunately, it's around here. It's still like that. She was telling me that she has a client that a year ago were looking at a $700,000 house. Now they can only afford a $500,000 house. Okay, no problem. It's their
Sure,
choice. So
sure.
she shows them every house in the book that's there, all two of them, and
You're
it's
right.
listed. She explains to them houses are still getting multiple offers, dozens. Oh, okay, we understand.
Yep.
They find a house, it's listed at 525, and they offer 537. She goes, "What? Okay, but I'm telling you up front, there's going to be multiple offers. Out of 20 offers, they were number 16,
Wow.
right?" And then she's complaining about this woman. She showed this particular model of a condo 500 times, right? And every time it's, so the woman finally sees one that she likes. She's telling me, Bob, you gotta understand, it's the same one, only in a different location. It's
Right.
exactly the same shape, color. And it was listed at like 300. She goes, well, do I have to offer list? You can, but you know, well, I'm going to offer. Let's say it was three. She goes, I'm going to offer 325. He goes, and you're not going to get it. Oh yeah, I'll get it. So this is a woman who is as, you could punch her and she'd still be calm. She explodes on the woman and says, "That's it. I'm done. Yet I'm not showing you another damn condo."
I I had to break the heart of a good friend of mine the other day because he's been looking for this unicorn of a property to buy, right?
Of course.
Acreage, the right house, the right location, so on and so on. So don't you know the house comes on the market? Great. So he calls me right. I love that house. We got to go see it. I'm like, all right, let me look at it. I said, okay. Do you have $215,000 in cash? He's like, what? I go, it's a cash only sale. They're selling it as is. It needs a lot of work. Who carries around $215,000 in their pocket? You'd be surprised.
The average. So the people that she's working with, one's an older woman. The one that offered like nothing compared to what it went for are like 25, 26. So they're either in the market or doing something,
Yeah.
you know.
Yep.
But it's not the fact that they didn't get it that bugs her. Is they're not learning.
All
They're not
right.
realizing you can't get what you think. Well, I'm not paying more than list. Well, you're not getting the house.
Well, that's just it.
The
I've
list is
had those
just like on a
conversations.
car, a suggested list price. Well, how dare you charge 10,000 more than the list price? Because I can.
Because somebody's going to buy it.
Because if you notice, our parking lot used to be filled with new cars, and now there's five in there.
Yeah.
Giving us supply and demand.
Uh-huh.
Because I guarantee
Simple.
you, if you don't buy it, he will or she
Yeah.
will.
Simple economics. Oh, I know. I don't know how many times the last 3 years I wrote offers that just, they had no chance. They had no chance because they just wanted to go 5 grand over the list price and there was 8 offers on the house. They had no chance. Oh,
Yeah, yeah. I
it's
mean,
complicated and it's challenging.
there's still houses around here are still selling for 100, 200, 300,000 over asking.
Yep.
And my last comment will be, are you out of your mind? This market cannot sustain itself forever unless you're going to be there for 30 years where you might recoup
some of your equity. Yeah.
you know. Yeah. I couldn't
Yeah,
say this one. You can't say it. I can because I'm not licensed anymore. You out of your mind? I don't
right.
understand the speeding frenzy. How bad? The only people who have to buy a house is somebody in a 1031 exchange, somebody who sold their house before buying,
Yep.
somebody who the house is they got to get out because they can't afford it anymore,
Yep.
or they already bought a house. Like I said, everybody else is what's wrong with you people?
Oh, and the other thing is like homeowners have no motivation to sell a house. If they 2 years ago or a year ago refinance their house at 2.75 or 3%, they have no motivation to sell right now unless they have to move, like you're saying.
Yeah, if I had a house that's let's say I paid 250 for it, now it's worth $1 million, and I have no intention of buying $1 million house. I'm moving to Florida. I'd like to buy like a $300,000 ranch with a pool. Okay, but I'm not motivated to sell because now I have zero outlay except for utilities.
Right.
Down there, I'm going to have to start paying 2,300. Yeah, my friend's house, she pays 1,900 a month on her mortgage. She goes, if I sell my house, I'm going to be paying more than that in rent. Her
Yeah.
kids, her kids, two boys moved into an apartment together. She says it's smaller than a closet, and they're paying 2,000.
Yeah. Can't even imagine.
And Nar, listen to me, Nar, you ain't doing your job, and not doing the realtors or the public any favors with your advertising.
Yeah. Right.
I think we should end there because I'm going to
Yeah,
get.
I think that's a good one. Yeah. You're going to get me in trouble and you won't be able to get in trouble.
He didn't say it. I did.
That's right. Bob Kahn, Bobkahn. So with that, as we end the show here today, pause. Um, I, Today is kind of an end of this effort. In 2020, in the middle of the pandemic, I started this podcast because, well, we all had extra time then, but it was something that I wanted to do for fun. I thought it would make a difference. And 108 episodes later, we've had some great conversations. We've had some great interviews. I interviewed some well-known people, somewhat well-known people, and I've interviewed people you didn't know. I've had the privilege of having kind of a subset of the podcast and the round table and getting to sit down with, three very successful young career women. And those were always great conversation. And at 108 episodes and looking at where Bob and I want to take the podcast, at this point, this will be the last episode of At the Coffee Table. At the Coffee Table was all about, sitting down and just having conversation like we have. Nothing was ever scripted, or very rarely was it ever scripted. And the conversations were, I had episodes that were, home runs, and I had a couple I'd rather delete and I'd forget about. But at this time, we've made the conscious decision that we're going to end At the Coffee Table with the hopes of, generating a new podcast in a different niche. But again, I thank everybody that has supported the podcast. I thank everyone that took their time to join me on the podcast and have conversations. And I look forward to doing stuff like this in the near future. But this run has come to an end. So with that, I'll let Bob end this last episode.
For now. Be nice, stay safe, and of course, laugh a lot. And we'll talk to you soon. Take care.
Bob, I appreciate you. I appreciate our audience. Please drop a comment or share this with anybody that might find it entertaining. And with that, take care of yourselves, take care of each other. Have a great day.
Peace.